Hi guys, Paul Seils here. Thanks for joining us for this special presentation about creating sustainable communities. And we're certainly living in unprecedented times at the moment. And there's a huge pull for people to get drawn towards community and start being involved in community, not just in Australia, but all over the world. So very fortunate to have Nathan Wakeford and Devan as well joining us from Mexico. Hi guys, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, Paul.
Grateful to be here with you guys.
Yeah, it's great. So share us a little bit about I mean, I've known Nathan for a number of years from Australia. What drew you to, of all parts of the world that you could possibly go, to be in Mexico at the moment for this transition?
Well, I guess I can share with this audience. It's a bit different than maybe other audiences I'd share it with. Actually, in 2016, I saw a Deagle report that some of you might be familiar with, and it talked about a change in population and change in GDP. It was a forecast between 2016 and 2025, and it had some pretty shocking numbers written on it, and I can share those another time, but I don't want to go into too much detail to alarm you guys. But
sure,
Australia's population goes down, US population goes down, but Mexico's population went up, and I'm like, that's interesting. And so it was one of those things where I was thinking in the back of my mind, at some time I'll probably end up in Mexico. And I didn't really have a big focus on being here. It was just one of those things that organically came about when COVID hit. My fiance, Taj, she might poke her head in a bit later. Her mums and her grandmother are both Mexican. So we had this connection to Mexico as well, which just universe guiding us in a certain way to be here. And then we did, after Burning Man, we did this trip, and we're both very intuitive, we both do energetic work, both healers. And after Burning Man, where I got engaged, we did a dayetta in the Amazon rainforest. And we had thought about Mexico and buying land at that stage, but there was no big decision at that stage. It was just a vision that we sort of were holding. We finished the dayetta with the Kuntanawa tribe in Brazil, and I did some energetic work on a woman, her name's Kumiko. And she said that she knew a shaman in Mexico that knew the Mayan elders here and was doing medicine work here. And we're like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And it turned out that we didn't actually get to come to Tulum. Because of basically being stranded in the jungle, we were stuck in a cartel town for like 3 days, and we missed all of our flights and missed out going to Tulum. Fast forward like 6 months, Taj, my fiance, had a miscarriage, and we decided we were going to come to Mexico as a bit of a grief relief trip. The same woman that I met, yeah, it was it rattled us a bit, to be honest, at the time, and we're good now. So, but Kumiko, the lady that I met, who just happened to be the day that we're leaving filming the documentary of the Kuntanawa tribe, reached out to me and goes, "Are you going to Mexico anytime soon?" We're like, "Yeah, we're going on Friday." She goes, "I got a feeling that I should connect you. Make sure you reach out to this guy, Holly, who's connected to these mines. I think it'd be really good." And so I reached out to him, and it turns out the day we land was to sit in a ceremony here with ayahuasca. And he was going to offer to show us a few blocks of land. We went the following day after the ceremony. We had a day's rest, and the following day after that, we went to the ceremony, went to the land, and immediately that we knew the land was meant to be for this project. We'd seen this project at Burning Man in a vision, but we hadn't really saw about it. But once we got to the land, we're like, this is it. And there had been, basically Taj has this big framed blue morpho butterfly that she keeps on her that represents a time in her life when she transitioned into being more empowered and being a coach. There's 5 of these things, these blue morpho butterflies that came up to us as we walked the land. And that was enough for me. Beautiful. So on the spot, we said, look, we're going to take this land, we'll buy the land. Didn't know the logistics of it. 2 weeks later, I had a conversation with my business partner that I decided I own a significant, tea company in Australia. And I made a decision that I was going to leave the company. So that was basically December last year. And next, we were here in January, and we have been clearing land, putting roads, and Devan here is with me, my brother. He's just a really, really, really knowledgeable guy on permaculture farming practices and setting up regenerative agriculture. So he'll probably say a little bit more about that later. Sure. But it was one of those things where the land The land came to us. We didn't go out to buy land from someone. We didn't go through retail. The land came to us. And it was one of those things that I knew in my insight, in my intuition, I knew it was going to be at Tulum even before I'd been to Tulum. I didn't even know where the hell Tulum was. But this download came, I was like, in Tulum. I'm like, all right, we're going to Tulum. So, and I knew it was going to be in the jungle, and I knew it was about 20 minutes inland, and all of those things. And then later, I was like, why Tulum? What is it about Tulum? And it just so happens, and I'll talk more, I'll show you a presentation in a minute. It just so happens that it's got an abundance of fresh water. One of the largest underwater reservoirs in the world is here in Tulum. It's all underneath the entire Yucatan Peninsula. You've got year-round warm weather, which means you don't have to worry about getting cold. You can grow food year-round. And I knew that this was going to be an off-grid system, so we've got off-grid power. So you've got food independence, water independence, energy independence, pretty much all the things that you need. And the cost of construction is so much less than if you wanted to do the same thing in the US or other places. So, and this just happens to be a booming area right now. But so you've got the accessibility, and it's very easy to migrate to Mexico. It really is. So we've all got, like my fiance and I, and facilitated some other people, the ability to get a permanent residence, a temporary residence visa with a work permit as well attached to that.
Yeah.
So we've got basically a lawyer that we work, an immigration lawyer that works with getting people who want to come here. So now I've got one of my buddies who sold his farm in Victoria is coming here. Macon, who you know, is coming here. So there's a lot of Aussies that are already making the move, that are feeling the pinch in Australia, and like, let's choose a different style of living, you know, in community, which is where ultimately I think is happening. And it's very relaxed here. You can go into a majority of stores without a mask. It's just very, very, very different climate than US, than Australia, in the way that you can basically live your life with a high degree of flow and freedom. And energetically, it's just very, very different. Yeah, no, that's great. So with Conscious Investor Network, so we're out to educate people in the different facets, but also to be able to fulfill on projects, bringing people that have got some funds together and get involved in projects and vice versa. A lot of people are wanting to create that, and we're in conversations with people to create that in Australia. But soon as, we've been in communication for a few years now, and super excited and resonated. And I know you're going to show some of the presentation material. You guys have put a lot of thought and a lot of time in it. And I know that you've been very selective about who you invite and who you bring into your community as well, you know, as we all should in relation to whatever sort of community model that we're going to. But you said you have a bit of a presentation that you can share with us about what you've prepared. Yeah, we can jump into it. Yeah, and from an investment perspective, sorry, I probably have to share screen first. Here you go. Yep. And I'll share my desktop, and then you might see that. Let me just jump into the presentation, and you can see that clearly. Yeah,
the mother tree, wonderful.
The mother tree, yeah. So that Taj came up with the name for this. So basically, mother tree is a sanctuary. You know, it's a place of safety. It's a place of abundance. It's a place. Some of the values, I don't know, maybe you guys haven't been to Burning Man, but there's radical independence and radical and self-reliance and radical expression. So we're just people that, you know, to give you, I guess, your name, the Conscious Investor Network, right? So first and foremost, this for me is a legacy project, you know, of it's, you know, I'm an investor in crypto and other things. From an investor perspective, Tulum makes a very, very good investment possibility. Not only with inside Mother Tree, but the land and for the returns you get on if you're for, you know, like Airbnb, things like that.
Yeah.
So very, very supportive of money coming into the country, basically. But I'll focus more on Mother Tree, and I'll take you through a little bit in terms of a presentation, just to give you an idea of where it is. So Tulum's base, it's bordering the Caribbean Sea. It's south of Cancun and on the Yucatan Peninsula. And where our particular land is actually at Francisco Umay, which is between Coba and Tulum. It's about halfway point between Coba and Tulum. Now there's a pyramid ruins, which I actually went to on the weekend at Coba. There's more
Wow.
pyramid ruins put in at Tulum. There's more pyramids down there. There's Chichen Itza that's over here somewhere. So this place is surrounded by pyramids. And so that was one of the things when I was like, why Tulum? Well, aside from all the things that I mentioned about the ability to grow food and water and warmth, energetically, it's quite profound.
Mm-hmm.
It's just south of Tulum is the 19.5 degree longitudinal line, which is, if you know about, where they have the Egyptian pyramids and what have you, the 19.5 degree parallel has a very important significance. Now, in between all these domes, our land is actually, if you've researched a thing called ley lines, our land is actually on a major ley line within like 500 meters to a kilometer of a major ley line. So energetically, there's just something very interesting about this area. So the level of, if you like, freedom that you have in the way that you're able to go into shops and what have you without wearing a mask and walking down the street, and you're not hassled or bothered by anyone, that's almost unique to Tulum. Yes, you can get away with it pretty much for most of the Mexico, but Tulum specifically, because about 80% of the tourist dollar that comes in to Mexico comes in through the Yucatan.
Right.
Some extraordinary amount. Now, the other thing about Tulum's burgeoning. So there's construction everywhere. They're actually anticipating that this is where the investment side comes in. They're actually talking about the number of people coming into Tulum to go up from 100,000 to 500,000. They're also going to be putting an airport over here somewhere in Macario Gomez.
Right.
So it's going to be an international airport. So our intention at some stage as communities is have our own plane. So we don't want to ever have to worry about vaccine passports or to be chipped or to be, any of the above. We want to have the freedom to travel unencumbered and without having to get tested or anything like that. So there's the ability to do that. I've already looked at a King Air 250. They're about 20K a month to lease, 20 to 30. And you could basically fly anywhere in a 2-hour radius, which would include Costa Rica, which would include Texas, and a lot of places in the Caribbean. So what we're looking at is really making, which I'll go into more detail shortly, is to create a mini economy. It's not just a place where you live. I'll go into more detail about that as we go along. So it's just a really, really interesting environment and so much opportunity because there's so much development in Tulum. The ability to open up businesses and make money to cater to the tourist crowd is phenomenal. Like Devan came in, you could probably share some ideas in this, Devan. He's like, wow, there is so much opportunity. When you've come from Australia or the US, there's very little choice here that really caters for the tourists. There are choices, but they've got the lion's share of the pie, kind of speak. They're just smashing it. But then there's so much in terms of, just different modalities of healing, because there's a very conscious, spiritual kind of community that's coming to Tulum. Actually, there's probably three different segments. There's the locals, there's the people that come here to get for Instagram, to make themselves, look popular and important. And then you've got the actual deep spiritual community that's here, So but just the opportunity from a business perspective is phenomenal. As an entrepreneur, I mean, we're looking at food businesses, we're looking at, coffee roasteries, we're looking at cafes, we're looking at, pizza restaurants and bread. And like Devan's he's more of the chefing background, looking at baking our own breads and making our own tempeh. And there's just so many things where if you're a Westerner expecting a certain level of quality of product, there exists, but maybe, they can be made better and more cheaply and vice versa. Yeah. So just such a huge opportunity. So Mother Tree is positioned as Burning Man, but in the jungle as a way of life. The thing that really always struck me as community, you'd go to a place like Burning Man. It's a festival for those of you who may not know about Burning Man. But the crux of it is they're in the middle of a desert and they assemble an entire city for 80,000 people in a week or 2 weeks. Right? Why we've got that is because you feel a certain way. You feel safe. You feel that you can express yourself in whatever way you want to. So there's a larger Mayan community, which is called an ejido. And then within that, you've got a certain pocket of land, which is called Balam Balam. And then within that pocket of land, you've got Mother Tree. So surrounded, all the plots of land that are surrounding Mother Tree, which is a 21 acre, but we're looking to expand it probably for another 10 to 15 acres as we grow. All of the land has been sold by one person, the shaman. So, and the majority of people who have bought land, it's not available through retail. The majority of those plots of land are people who sat through his ceremony. So there's a certain filter, even for the neighboring community outside of Mother Tree, which is qualified, if you like, for people that are on a spiritual healing path. So we're into beauty, we're into artistic flair, we're into creativity, we're into freedom and sovereignty, because we ultimately, this would be a place, if you value freedom like really highly, this would be the place that you want to be at, because I'm not building this specifically as a retail project to sell as many blocks of land as I can. This is not that. This is a place where I want to have family, an extended family, a tribe of people that share the same values as what we do, that want to live in a sovereign way, that basically, once you've bought into the place, those who buy land will have access to food that we're growing on the land. I've got 5 acres that we've allocated towards food production. And I'll get into a lot more into the amenities that we're building there as people coming in. But it's really this sort of community at this magnitude, which you get more about what we're building later. I just don't see how it's really possible in many other places, just in the way that we can go about building. And I'll talk about more about that, why that's the case as we go through. But it's really, if you're a healer or an intuitive, if you're an artist or a musician, or you're an entrepreneur or a coach, a conscious coach or entrepreneur, that's kind of people that we want to collaborate with, because, Devan and I, like I've basically resigned from, as a director of a business that I started to build into a multiple 7-figure business, high 7 figures. And then I've now got my time back, but I just saw where the world was going. And I was like, I don't want to be in a business that's going to be, negatively affected by potential future lockdowns. But there's just such an opportunity to open up businesses here in a conscious way. You've got amazingly, successful entrepreneurs that you can potentially collaborate with to co-create in business. So what we're creating ultimately, yes, there's a residential component, which is an amazing, residential development with epic amenities that, where you can do yoga and you can run your own, sessions if you want to teach people how to do, mixed martial arts or build something or make something or craft or whatever it is. If you've got a skill set, then you can potentially offer it free to the community, but you can also potentially start your own business, build within Mother Tree. If you want to run your own retreats and seminars, we're building the facilities for people. Like, I'm very passionate about men's work and connecting men to their hearts,
Yeah, great.
So, and Devan said he brought Sacred Sons to Hawaii. It's a men's group that is focused on developing men into men, from little boys in big grown-up bodies.
Yeah, rites of passage.
That's kind of what rites of passage work. So that's what this is about. Is like, we're talking about food businesses, retreats, those sort of things can be built once you're in the community, because that's what the amenities are for. So as we go along, the way that we're doing this is essentially that as you buy a parcel of land, that's going in to building more and more amenities, right? So that the environment becomes a sustaining environment. And the idea being that you'll gain access to the amenities if you're a resident, and then we'll charge for some of those facilities for that wider community, the Blum Blum community, or potentially people coming from the outside in. So if you've got a specific skill set, you can bring it and add it to the mix. But you're looking at, a tea temple, organic catering with food grown on the land. There's a big focus on the healing. We have a questionnaire, which I know you're familiar with now, but it's just basically like the governance of this is essentially self-governance. That's why we're putting a lot of, it's not going to be me telling people what to do. It's really not that style. It's about self governing and sovereignty. So which is why we're putting so much effort into making sure it's the right people coming in. Because it's a certain flavor of people that can live in sovereignty and don't want to be led by somebody else.
Yeah.
So, but looking at, communal accommodation and lounging and rest areas, Temescal, which is like a sweat lodge, fire pit, outdoor gym, co-working space, observation deck, things like that. there's a lot of, you can see that we'll put a lot of effort into this. There's community events, there's a nearby green school in that if you've got kids that can go to that. There's access to private cenotes. We'll have our own places where you can swim on the land as well. Community gatherings, healing ceremonies, organic farming, and conscious catering. We can support you because there's a number of people coming in. We can support you to get your legal documents. So all the legal documents have already been done, invested a heap of money in making sure that the legals have been done right with their HIDO and multiple different, because I'm putting a lot of my money into doing this. I want to make sure that the asset was protected.
Sure.
But then you've got, I'll describe more of the legal function of how we're doing this in a moment, but basically we've also got the ability to support you to leave the country to get your visas, as I mentioned before. The way we're doing it is you can basically buy a 2,500 square meter block or a 5,000 square meter block. That's 0.6 acres or it's about 1.2 acres. So the blocks are quite reasonable in size. So if you want to buy a double block beside each other, you can have even more land. We've got some provisions, like we want people only to build, I think it's about 14% of the land. So we're very much preserving a jungle type of feel. But you have the ability to, so we've got some houses which I'll go into the design of later. You can essentially buy, so some people are putting domes on their land, or we've already designed 2, 3, or 4, or 5 bedroom homes if you want something a bit more luxe, right? Depending on where you're coming in, you know, financially. And then all houses are basically ready to move in. You'll have to buy your own furniture, but as far as they'll come with solar energy, you know, access to all of the amenities at Mother Tree as well. I'll talk a bit more about the design now and where we've come from in designing all the structures. So there's very much a feel around modern mine architecture, you know, which is, you'll see a lot of molded concrete and ferro cement type work, which you know, you can get molded couches and things like that. Sunken couches, they're in like the 3, 4, and 5 bedroom homes, floor to ceiling kind of windows, outdoor, indoor, merging them together. Then we've got all the outdoor communal areas, places we can hang out. The outdoor tea temple will be something, you know, very much a jungle vibe, raised hammocks. All the houses come with plunge pools. The 3, 4, and 5 bedroom will come with rooftop with palapa coverings. I'll show you the actual architectural drawings for the houses as well. The 3, 4, and 5 bedroom homes also have a spiral staircase, and we've got upgrades that are available. So I'm someone who's big into weaving ancient technologies into structural design. So there's a copper roof that will be on the spiral staircase, and then you'll have basically generating and disseminating energy or ether energy from the environment. So all the major communal buildings that we're building are basically ether generators. And you'll see the master plan that we've built as well, which is all based on spirals. Real cool place to hang out, wall pockets and what have you. Initially, we've got 12 spaces, but obviously that will be less if people are buying double blocks. I do have the ability to buy basically another 5 hectares of land initially. That will enable us to probably to put in, you know, another 6 to 8 homes. We're wanting at low intensity, low density homes.
Yeah.
Low density land use. We have solar solutions with backup generators. Skip past that. House amenities. We've got actually a much more detailed list that we've got right now that is getting compiled, where it goes into the specifications of the type of hot water unit, the type of lighting, the type of fans. Like, know that behind this presentation, we've got a lot more detail. But you've got, you know, the opportunity to have air conditioning, water tanks, hot water, plunge pools, biodiverse waste systems. We need to obviously protect the water systems below, lighting. Even for upgraded packages, we're offering things like to be able to have structured water through the entire house. That's something we're doing for our house. So all these things that we're doing for our house, we thought would make available for other people, but as upgrades to the standard package.
Great.
So let me talk a bit about the legal structure. So basically what it is we've got and we've got Hido land. So Hido land, the closest analogy I could use would be something, it's community-owned land. It is something like an Indian reservation, like in America, right? And basically, inside that, they have the right to that land. These are generational Mayans that are connected to the land, that they give us a right to use the land. And it's 30 years renewable for another 30. So you have 60 years of access to that land. Now, any time during that 60 years, we're also able to go under what's called a RAN system and go under formal title. So you're also able to get your land titled. There is something that we have to pay called an assembly of the ejido that goes through that process. There is an expense. That isn't per person. That's divided amongst however many people are getting titles to that land. Now, there's some pros and cons to doing that. Ultimately, your land is worth more once your land is titled, right? Yeah. However, once the land is titled, you're under the government system, the GovTake system, which means you have to start paying land taxes, which means they can come on. So our intention is to build the entirety of all the buildings on Mother Tree and then look at getting it titled under a formal process.
Yeah.
The reason we're doing that is because otherwise we need permits for every change that we make, every structure that we make, all that sort of stuff. When you're in a Hido land and the right to use land, you don't need to do any of that. So just to know that you absolutely can have title, but initially what you'll be getting is a right to use the land, where we basically, the legal structure we've got is we transfer our rights to the person, whoever that's buying the land of us. Right. So we already talked about visas, but the standard way to get a visa is with these temporary residence visas. We paid, it's $3,000 US to basically get it. We've had 4 people go through, every single person's got it. You know, so it's kind of, the money goes, I don't want to say maybe this is being recorded, but the money goes to the Mexican way.
It's being recorded. The Mexican way. Okay. Well, different cultures have different things. I would spend 10 years in the Middle East personally. They called it bakshish. So it's like, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
So you're transferring the money by Western Union to about 4 different people, but know that you will get your visa at the end of it. So anyway, it's just certain ways that things are done over here. I'll say that much. But once you're on the land, once you've purchased the parcel of land, you can then build your house, and I'll talk about prices in the coming slides. You can build your house within a reasonable time frame. We're sort of saying within 2 years, a year and a half, 2 years, mainly because we don't want to get a perpetual state of construction going on at the community. We want to have a sense of people actually living there. So we're wanting to make these blocks available for people who actually have a genuine intent to live in community. So rather than having, blocks sold and people never moving in, So we haven't decided, but there'll be some fee associated as a communal fee, like in America, they call them AHA fees, but this hasn't been decided. I put a number, it could be 1,500, it could be $2.5 grand. I don't know what it is. It'll be a low number. It won't be decided by me. It'll be decided as a collective. And that money would go to having a gated community, to having their own security, going to, maintenance of roads and things like that. So basically costs associated with upkeep, preservation of the environment and clearing and things like that.
Yeah.
And also, it's a way that we can support the local Mayans and things like that. So there's just going to be some nominal fee that would go towards community upkeep. So the crux of it is can you imagine yourself living genuinely, this is a tropical paradise, with a conscious community outside of the systems? So I guess I'll talk a little bit more. I mean, I know that your audience is probably well versed in this, but at least what we see happening is a reset, a great reset, where there'll be a breaking down of the financial system, a breaking down of food supply chain, and things like that.
Yeah.
And we want to be essentially immune to that. So we're creating an environment, like a mini economy and a community that's in a Hido land, which means you won't have people knocking on your door, coming to take swabs or to tell you that you should get vaccinated, because they're not allowed on the land, So it's just a very unique positioning, if you like, of what we're able to create to have a level of, protection
Yes.
from some of the events that are going to come.
Yeah.
You know? So know that you'll be taken care of.
Yeah.
When the people coming in, we're taking care of each other.
Yeah.
We're restoring us back to the old ways.
Having that peace of mind and having security, Nathan, is very, very important for this place and time. I think a lot of people feeling really isolated, particularly if their alternate thinking doesn't fit the narrative, and wanting to be around, wanting to live and exist and be self-sustained and supported by other like-minded individuals.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about just the access point. Essentially, you pay a deposit, the 50K US gets you a 2,500 square meter block of land. You can buy neighboring blocks of land, that would be 100,000, that covers the land. These prices, if you go with a 2, 3, or 4 bedroom home, this includes a 50K block. So the house would be like 170 to build, a 2 bedroom. Now, included in this, remember, is it's about a $20-something-thousand solar package. So you've got solar, you've got all the things that I mentioned, right?
Yeah.
The only thing it doesn't have is all your lighting and furnishings, and also premium fittings. I'll go into just how much detail we're putting into this. And there will be upgradable packages for these as well, which I'll talk about. So these are really people who are saying, right, cool, I'm going to sell up in Australia, which is one of the guys has done, Marco's, who's come across, and saying, cool, I'm just ready to not live in Australia for a few years.
Yeah.
All right. Now, there's another option, which I haven't got listed here, which is what, another friend of mine's doing. They're buying the block of land, but they want to put like a dome on it. They're happy to have an even smaller sort of place. When you see these 2 bedrooms houses, it's 125 square meters. It's a pretty sizable 2 bedroom home. Same with you see the jump in price for the 4 bedroom. That's a 3,200 square foot or 300 meter home. These are pretty substantial homes.
Huge.
This is myself and Taj. We're kind of just the seeds. We don't see it as our project. This is a community collective project. This is where we're just co-creators with the people who are coming into community. Devan's probably felt that already. We feel that there's certain people are going to have skill sets that can lead in whether it be their connection to the land, developing food, or running ceremonies, or what have you. There's just the ability to really co-create this to be a really amazing space. Taj is a coach. He empowers women to basically start their own businesses. I do something similar, but having been an entrepreneur for 14 years, I'm kind of looking for like the simple life, to be honest.
Yeah.
Which is what we've been doing. So just some facts around this before we go into like the house designs and things like that. Yes, you can buy a house. Yes, you can rent it out. But this we want to have, the filtering point is really, which we're taking really seriously, is that they have anyone who's coming to live at Mother Tree has to complete the questionnaire. The questionnaire is asking questions like, do you have a criminal record? What skill sets do you have? Do you know how to negotiate in a non-violent way and communicate in a non-violent way to resolve disputes and things like that? Do you know about the culture of consent? We basically want to have people, and there's a question about there, have you been vaccinated? Unfortunately, we're not really keen to have people in the community who have been vaccinated. It's just a very different value system. So that might exclude some people straight up front. As I said, we're not, this is for just a unique person that's aligned, or a group of people that are aligned in the same way that we see the world. And we want to extend that to make it basically an extended family, So can you choose your own house and buy the land only? No, we want people to actually, we don't want just empty blocks of land. We want actually people living in community there.
Yeah.
Can you tailor your own home? Yes. We would just put you directly in contact with our architectural designer. And then you can make your own adjustments to it if you want.
Okay, great.
Based on what we've already got. This is a photo of the land. It's just virgin jungle, So it's different to Aussie jungle, but it's very, like, having been to the Amazon rainforest, it's wild, but it's not, it's really kind of safe. Like, I felt totally at home walking through my sandals, not worrying if I was going to get eaten by an anaconda or something like that. It's a very mellow, feminine kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
So you see more of the jungle paths. So this is Polly, the guy who actually sold us the block of land, with connected us with the Mayans. This is Yoshi. He's also developing another project in the land as well. Taj and myself. This is where we can get into the actual master plan, which you'll see some of the thought that's gone into it.
Yeah.
So today we were clearing this path, and we'll clear this area. This is where the agro tunnel is going to be. We're going to have water tanks here and a seedery here, like where we're going to grow, develop our composting and stuff like that. So this is a food forest walk. All right, we'll probably end up extending that arc, but you'll see we've got these arcs, you know, this spirals.
Yeah.
Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Based on the Fibonacci spiral. So these Fibonacci spirals, the buildings themselves are going to be these energetic generators. We're going to be using copper lined ceilings and stuff like that will then arc, and the pathways will arc out from those spirals. So you've got an amphitheater, and what you're using is basically we're structuring water, and we're also using our song and using vibration to grow our field. I don't know if you've looked into growing food, but there's a big thing, like Marco, I know one of the guys that's helping us out. There's a lot of connection between putting your intention and thought into the food that's been grown. And they've also seen things like structured watering where the plants just thrive. I'm also going to be developing my own ormus as well.
Right.
So basically there's an amphitheater. There's going to be a dome for like to run seminars in. I'm building 8 to 10 domes here. They'll actually more than likely be spiral shaped domes. There's a tea temple here, raised jungle, hammock, butterfly garden, center camp for yoga. There's your Temescal men's and women's area. This area is a jungle gym. There's another community dome over here. This area here we haven't purchased, but we're looking at buying it. This would be the commercial area where we'd like more than likely have a co-working space, a little restaurant and store to basically cater for the larger community that's out here. And so these are the houses. You'll see that there's basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 blocks. Now, these can be sold as doubles. You can have a double block. And I've also got been allocated land here, as well as this land and also land above. So we have room to expand as people come into the community. We've got biodigester systems. So this is what I was talking about, the L-shaped of mother tree. These are blocks of land have all been sold. They're all 2.5 or 5,000 square meter blocks, but really it's just all jungle, right? And so this is the extended residential zone, commercial zone, and we've got our own private road that comes in. So this, to scale, this is big. I've built 1.4 kilometers of roads just to go around on our private road, just to come into the land. And the only entrance is in through that private residence. And remember, this is all jungle. This whole thing's jungle. And we've kept a gap around the entire mother tree lands, which is also jungle. Just to always keep that jungle feel. This is a tree actually just outside of mother tree. It's a feminine tree, but it's actually the mother tree that really attracted it. One of the first places we stayed. There's actually a butterfly that flew out of the Oni there. So it was a sign that there was new life coming. So yeah, you can basically the step from here is to complete the questionnaire, which I know you've got a link towards.
Yeah, I'll put the link in the description.
Yeah. And you complete the questionnaire, and it's really just to feel for a fit. We're going to be living in proximity with each other, but you'll also see from the houses, there's a high degree of independence as well and your own privacy. So it's not like you have to be in everyone's faces or living on top of each other. This is sort of, residential development means, there's the legals that I've got. So I'll give you a bit of an insight into the houses. It's a 4-bedroom home. Let's see if I can, this is the 5-bedroom home that Taj and I are building. And you see, you probably can't see it. It's built on a Fibonacci spiral, but in a slightly different way. You've got 3 levels, which is a rooftop. It's got a tub there. This is the outdoor spiral staircase. This is from the reverse view. From the other side, you got these houses have been designed in a very specific way. So for the jungle, they've got high ceilings, which means there's a diffusion of humidity rather than a condensing of humidity, and they're built to be very cool. They've got Spanish tile roof. This is going to be Palipar area as well. Got the plunge pool, and you can sort of see the floor plan. So let me just rotate that to show you. So in this 5-bedroom home, you come in the entrance. You got the spiral staircase. It's got a sunken couch, library, wall pocket, dining room, water closet, pantry, breakfast bar, outdoor area. We can actually have a breakfast bar that goes out to the outside area, which will be all, landscapes. You got a tea table area, and that's just the first ground floor. Outdoor kitchen with mini pizza oven. Upstairs, let me just rotate that around. You've got 1, 2, 3 bedrooms, 2 master bedrooms, outdoor areas. The kids have got a super sweet little thing going on for the 5-bedroom, where we've actually got like a mini cubby hut built into the actual house, where they can go through the wardrobes to each other. You can also climb up this little staircase into their own little cubby
cool.
above, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun. So this, anyway, you can see some of the designs. I'll show you a 2-bedroom. This is 4-bedroom, sorry. 4 bedrooms you'll see is very similar in terms of layout, just a little bit smaller. It's got 1 master bedroom as opposed to 2 master bedrooms. Outdoor terrace, but otherwise very, very similar. So yeah, I'm looking for I'll show you the 2-bedroom as well. There you go. Another tree. 2-bedroom. 2-bedroom. It's a cute little house. It's just a single level. You've got walk-in pantry, full bedrooms, full bathrooms. We've actually changed this. Actually, this is an old design. We've got the same as that you saw in the 5-bedroom. You've got walk-in robes that split between these 2 rooms now. And we've taken out the sunken couch just to allow even more space at this area. It's just a beautiful. It's got an outdoor palipar and a outdoor dining area. So yeah, you get the feel of that. So that's kind of the main things as far as the overview.
Yeah.
If you've got any questions, I'll probably just bring it to that design, and I'll send it back to you. You can.
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, so I'm going to post the link here for people, excuse me, for the expressions of interest, and for people to get in contact and communication via that, via the form, and what's your timeline on like for construction and handover? If people want to jump on board now and get started, because there's a lot of people, there's a sense of urgency that's happening at the moment, particularly in Australia. There's actually a window of opportunity at the moment for people to exit. We feel that's why I'm working with clients, particularly it's maybe between now and sort of maybe October or something. So
we're getting 3 people out right now, and we feel the same urgency. And that's one of the reasons why, even with me, with building a 5-bedroom home, we're actually going to be building a dome first, because we want to be on the land within 3 to 4 months. So the opportunity is basically, assuming we're a fit in terms for each other in terms of community, you'll be able to buy the land straight away. And then the house construction, you can either build a dome, for instance, a dome, then your house. If you want to be living on the land as soon as possible, there's places that we're helping people find places to rent as well, because we've got a real estate agent that's been amazing. Like he got the house that we're staying in right now, he got the guy who was living here to move out so we could move into his house, and I bought my truck from him as well.
Yeah.
So it's for those that are really feeling oppressed in Australia, that share the same values, that want a sea change. The way of life is, it's a lot more cost effective to live here. The other things is that I didn't mention before, even though we're going to have our own food, the food is probably a quarter of the price, and especially fruit, what it is for US or Australia. There's a lot, it's decentralized farming. There's a lot of small farmers that are selling their produce on the roadsides. And I just think the gap, if there is a big economic crash, the change in living standards is not going to be great here. It's going to be very, very consistent. change in living stance, if there's a global economic crisis in the US and Australia, and what's predicted would be much more dramatic,
Yeah.
I think, and reliance upon centralized supply chain of food and things like that, I think it's going to affect people in a much bigger way in those places than it would here.
Yep, absolutely. So we'll complete on this part of the presentation here. I'll post the link in the recording because some of the people couldn't attend live. So I'll post that in the link. Nathan, thanks for this part of the presentation. And Devan, thank you for your time with this. And good luck. And I hope to see you in Mexico at some time.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, there's a bed made for you, mate, if you want to come stay for a while.
Wonderful. Thank you.